Hey. Um, Good morning. I got a pretty good presentation, I think, that is hopefully going to be helpful. If you're listening to this right now, please remember to thank your creator. The reason that you exist right now and can watch this is because you have a creator, and you're really the highest life form in the universe, and you don't know it. So I'm going to try and help right now, both for the children of the light as well as anybody that needs extra knowledge to make it through the times that we're going through right now, regardless of your destiny. We've been told that there's sort of two forces that are at play right now with humans, and you're on one side or the other. And so what I'd like to do is provide you a little bit of ascended insight as to the nature of the problems on the negative side. They're electronic problems, but they're behavioral as well. So it's multi-dimensional, but it's electric energy. So if you can follow along with this, you'll learn a lot about where we are. If you listen to Sam the Illusionist, as well as anybody else that's woke, you know that we have initially 7 chakra inside our body, and I'd like to stay on a third density perspective, knowing that at fourth density everything is happening above, sort of here and above is where fourth density goes. This is your lungs and your solar plexus and your life force energy, and here's your heart. And when you trigger your heart, it's a whole nother game. But I'm speaking with now to the to the other side of humanity that is going through a struggle that's been defined, and I'm going to try and do it fairly clearly to give it Tesla-like definition as well as behavioral. So we know that in the 432 hertz world there are, go on your phone pad and go up and down with the numbers 396 and 417, etc. So there are perfect ways that the snowflakes can be set up electronically. For us to be made aware as highly intelligent human beings who are spiritual in nature, and we can have an ascended perspective on all this. We have chakra in our body. So this is your anus. This is your sacral chakra. Think belly button. And again, this is your solar plexus. So the deficiencies that manifest for us, I'm going to start from the bottom. So we start with very low frequency. It's used for submarines to communicate with each other through the water because it only does things infrequently and low. So transition your mind to astral world because the correlation runs very nicely, although we can talk about a lot of other things. So the astral world attendees were very unfortunate. That event of 4 months ago with Travis Scott in Houston, which just had an extraterrestrial object appear up in the sky, by the way. So human attributes basically manifested on that day. Not so much down here, although the folks understand that the folks that showed up at that concert, they were getting ready for a problem because of some of this puts them in the position here. So you're the 16-year-old girl who's at her second concert, and the rules are running and freak out, and then the music starts and everybody went frantic and people died because it was 9/11. Run over your neighbor, who got a scream, it's terror, they get compressed, and it's just the survival is at a level of madness. There's panic. Remember now that fear opposes love. So you could have been in Astro World and watched it go on and said, what, that's way the hell too loud. Put your fingers in your ears or whatever you need to do as a rational human being. But because you, the person who's got these problems, end up in that situation. Now let's leave Astro World and let's just talk about life in general. When they go to Bohemian Grove, they do a ceremony called the cremation of care. So you, the person, I'm talking about anybody, as an evaluative capacity now, if our creator is going, okay, what do we got going on here? And your attitude about your fellow is, I could care less about the person on the other side of the globe with different color skin. Abe Lincoln said what he said, and read the newspapers about his feelings about that, a president. So there are many of us who reflect that, as far as we could care less. Guy with the flat tire, anybody that gets in your way, because it's you first. And you get to a point where you're not even thinking about it, let's just say. And I'll put it this way, not to give anybody a guilt complex, but how many people have you passed by on the road who are broken down and you're not sure if they're resolved or not? And I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying, hey, we got cars and we do it because we're motoring along. And it doesn't mean you don't care less, but you're not thinking, you're not aware. And that's an issue of subconscious behavior, of how you roll along as a programmed, hey, I need to be on time. So it's about you. You're selfish. Now, you can get to a point where I'll come here to because we're on the red ray now, before I leave it in this very low frequency. This is in that category. It's not up here. It is basic, fundamental. You know where you can go with this. And it gets sick, primordially sick. It goes there. And the Bilderbergs know this at the ascended white man, highly intellectual child of Belial level. Kanye West represents it with Kardashian, who was at Astro World, and the math of 808 going on the 440 side, and it's bites and it's words about debasing women. Women are the target of this. And if you don't know it from the words on those songs, they use a lot of words, don't they? It's very complicated because you can't use those words unless you're singing along with it with your prototype. Call it a stereotype. It is controlled. Okay? We're up at this level now. Understand, it is controlled behavior. The reason the pants are worn the way they are, everything about all that. And I ain't going nowhere in terms of color, because the white people are the stupidest when it comes to the manifestation of it. So these issues, fear. You think you're going to die, and therefore you're subject to the lie. You're subject to the lie, because death is a lie. So we're going to talk about that up here, but it is that simple. You get put into this meat suit, air suit, call it what you want, and you think you're going to die. Simply. So it generates this. Fear opposes love. Not that you want to love to die, you're just fearless. People who know what I'm saying have been there before. on the way to the guillotine, so to speak, on the way to the cross in John 17, so to speak. It hurt. It does hurt, but then you look back at it and it doesn't hurt anymore. You can look at it again. Ask anybody that practices QHHT. So I'm trying to size things up for you on the red ray. If you're going out, if you got the Friday night, this is what I care about. Let's figure this out somehow so we can leave it. Then you're gone. You've made that choice down at this level where we have a creative body that was put together that's supposed to be used for one thing, and you end up doing it for the wrong thing, and it's anti-purpose, because the purpose of this organ is to reproduce, and you're allowed to enjoy it with the right circumstances, properly balanced, simple. The guidance is, look, we're not in that window anymore. Follow us and drop everything to do with this. You know, celibacy is possible. Married people don't have to be celibate. Single people don't have to be celibate. There's no such thing as hell. But there is such a thing as personal vibration. So don't be very low frequency about it. In your attitude, in your emotions, down here. You know, if you start being repressive, then you're mentally messed up, and you end up, those are the guys that end up standing in the dark place looking at the girls because they just are confused about what's important. So you got to put this under control. So that's the red ray, more or less. So you're up to low frequency side of the sacral chakra. When we transform, your life force positive expands. I'll tell you that we have a navel chakra that's been activated since Atlantis, and it's just the angelic portion of our seraphic column that's waking up for us, because we're quantum beings, and Atlantis was an important time. It wasn't even a full ascension window, but we were that aware, in communion with the angels. So we're talking about low frequency now. Not very low. We're still low though. We're negative. It's a different energy center, but it's low. So what's happening here? You know, I use words, you can start to bobble back and forth here a little bit, but know that this goes away. It gets parsed out and is put in Gaia. Everything about your previous personalities that you'll eventually self-acknowledge and get visibility on will be available in the Akashic records, to include sort of the you now as well, but the mission now, because you're allowed to have a personality, is to brush up your diamond by losing these things to the extent that they're causing you challenges. Egoic. Are you know, these are emotions now, so you can go around here with anger and fear. If you go with a Guan Yin mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, we exist in multiple realms. You could say simultaneously, and that would be a true statement. So as ascended masters have discerned what needs to go away, call it the dark side of the energy. You come up with those adjectives, and you know what they are already. You can express them in words. Jealousy, fear, gluttony, you know, and it's the whole issue of good balance. But when you consciously choose love, these other things are more clearly identified and eliminated, the bad things. We were told that when the angels fell, we used to be Neanderthals, and we were in that managed state of, hey, here we are, and we're organized to an extent because we weren't completely moronic, but the issue of competition caused problems at a fundamental level of love one another, 51% sort of a thing. All the competition turns into sports and stuff and attributes that come with it that range from Tim Tebow taking a knee to a mad fight on a field where guys do permanent damage and paralyze each other for, Mad Max reasons of competition. That's artificial competition where it's a sport. Now you go real competition, war. You're following opinion. You vote, we vote for, the fallen angels run this place and we vote for them. So go low frequency on your party, either one. We'll talk about it more up here. Let's talk about it now. I put it up here, but if you're a red pill versus blue pill person, and you're throwing out your I got the red pill, you're still lost. You just have an opinion, and you got a mirror that goes with it. You don't know squat, so lose it, because the pathway to where we're going doesn't have either of these pills associated with it. It's just definitions of awareness of third density asleep versus third density woke. And I have to leave it at that because, either you get it or you don't. As far as who you really are, there's good analogies in that movie, The Matrix, but he's still fighting. He gets all whipped out and he's a fighter. So they try and tell the truth and then pull you back in with television and everything that goes with it. So I'll stay here on this. I'm going to talk to things that Akura has spoken to, so watch her channel. She's going to watch this video someday and know that I'm right. That woman has been, and her twin flame have been through a very special experience on this planet that I can't fully explain, but I believe that she bears many of the attributes of Revelation 12. There was a woman who, you have to go with analogies of going into isolation and controlled meditation. Go with how Yeshua, Jesus, went into the desert, right? And he, water only, 40 days. I mean, you get to a point of, hey, you're being shown things now because you're on that path. So her and her twin flame, very much like that. And it just so happens that Germany, you can say what you want about it, but it's the very advanced Aryan, Henry Kissinger place, Bavaria. It's just, Germany's magical for a lot of reasons, but what I'm trying to say is that she, because of who she is, was exposed to what I'm going to call multidimensional AI. And to this day, she'll say I'm not sure what, she got exposed to timelines and the controllers and how they're doing things that'll express in somewhat more practical ways. This angel is so gifted and unique that she's one of the few people that can express things in the dimensions of, it's almost like looking at a piece of crystal when she speaks, talking about how the hijack has occurred, like the literal people who have been caught in artificial, to the point where she can observe that when they pass away, their evolution is controlled in the reincarnation process through the inner life, because you pass away with what you know. And if you're wrapped into it, you're just coming back and do looping. And I see it now on people who are trying to wake up and they're still just not there. So there's time for people. There's 30 years. We're in a 30-year window to repair this, but there's significant changes coming to the planet soon. So this is awareness. You have Russia and the Ukraine of dark versus dark, at Putin at the top and Ukraine the dark, and then Kushner is on the periphery over in Israel, waiting for that section of the dominoes to go down. But we're talking about individual people here right now and the behaviors that are going to put you in the position of the guy who's on the road and following the directions of the sergeant who's telling you what to do. I just like to say that I've got a picture on my phone that I might make the cover to this, and it's from a blogger in Bentonville that is capturing all the local news in a next generation, Facebook-oriented distribution kind of way. And two of the highlights are this big-time police training that's going to go on in the near future. The cops are going to learn RoboCop behavior, tasers, and dealing with collectives of people. So that must be anticipated. And this guy's capturing it like, hey, what a great thing for the cops to get together and thank God for the cops. So, right underneath that article was one on this super vaccinated, hey, if you want to get it and the booster and the thing, here it is, on this date, show up, and it's vaccine festival season. So, we're kind of there as far as the setup of the stage. You'll have ones with ID cards and ones without. And from there, the nets will be cast as smart as they can cast them. And you got smartphones, blah, 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 blah. But it's all nonsense when you're ascended. It's not nonsense, it's just stuff that you need to pay attention to at a high level and stand over it and above it. It's just like Akira, when she was, Sandra, when she was observing the crazy AI scenarios on trains and Men in Black kind of wackiness, she recognized that she was able to stand above it. And she's a very significant lady in the digital world of how that transaction worked. Look, I'm in sales, not management. I love that lady. She told me a lot about me, and I'm about laughing. So if you can't laugh, see ya. And she's awesome. And ask Naughty Beaver about her, because he has her covered. He's awesome too. Everybody's awesome, but there are those that are tribulation awesome. So that's what I'm talking about. So back here to this element of us that's an issue. Following opinion, yours or somebody else's, that they, unwittingly or wittingly, are taking you down a road. If a guy's got an agenda and he's a good sales guy, look, he's going to groove it. And if you got choices about your freedom and what you want to do. So it gets to a point where you just tell truth and you drop opinion and everybody is equal. So when you can rise up like that, you don't have it. You don't need Clinton or Bush, because they both took shipping containers at that upper level. So forget them. Come down to the day-to-day, the neighborhood of the deed-restricted neighborhoods of, now you got a problem and let's create a turmoil. Not my problem. I got out of deed-restricted, over-control madness. Because people should be free. But that's a whole other thing. But it falls into this. We're that gone to a certain extent. And I wanted, as far as understanding your cranium, you've got a pineal gland in the middle, that's the real you, and Thoth has it entombed,
You got that trophy a long time ago with a lot of things in the universe that we're about to bust out of. That's why you don't use fluoride when you brush your teeth. And if you do, you're asking for it. There's other things that cause that thing to get fogged up. So you have to be vegan and you got to get the diet straight. But as far as left brain versus right brain, your right brain is your high self who's been on all your walks. That's your high that's the highest form of consultant that you've got to the ether and to the angelic resonance that can go get answers if needed, but they're really not, because the higher you go, the more bandwidth you got to get what you need. And then you have intuition and reasoning and all the gifts of, hey, if you follow truth and it leads you, then you learn who to trust and what and discern what's being said by everybody and everything, and you're constantly picking out the gems to connect together that fit together, knowing that it's going to get better. But on the left brain, there's your personality and all the coal that comes with it, which is jealousy and these behavioral issues of coveting and not caring, and some of those drag down here. But it's about how you feel about other people. So we're going up now because it's how you feel about yourself. To hell with everyone. Now more how you feel about it, everyone else, on getting along. And you better expand this past the human idea of care, because this behavior in your egoic and your emotions, the I want the belt, you're fighting and winning the war in a what we are so whacked out, we're calling that a positive way. We're winning the war. That's positive. We're dropping more bombs on them so we win. But there's also the destructive side that we're not caring about. First and second density. Water, minerals, soil, fundamental life. First density. Everything's kind of from that. And we destroy it, this planet. Second, and this is surface level destruction I'm talking about. Not to mention how deep it poisons in. Second density is plants and animals and dogs and everything walking around out there, trees. And look at Bartholomew Bayou. Look at what this crap we've done. Not only unwittingly, hey, I have the company that has the bunch of shit. I'm taking the truck and hey, we're stopping over there. And then do it on a conscious, massive level for these guys who laugh at it on the dark side. And our earth has gone through that much turmoil, and it all needs to be healed, caused by us, to be repaired by us when the darkness leaves and it's on its way out. So I want to stay here, and I'm going to stay on this whole the chakra here, the orange chakra, because I want to break into artificial. We know about computers and digital, but think about this word artificial. There's technology and there's behavior. If you're pretending and you have the agenda of, oh, I'm pretending to help you get your thing solved, but that's going to make my thing even better, and that's the real reason I'm doing it. So that artificiality of who you are, because you want to have a lot of numbers in your bank account, and you want your piece of property to be so big that you don't need most of it. But hey, it looks good when you're not in it because you're someplace else, and you just got so much that you need to figure out how to share it somehow, because we got all these buildings and neighborhoods and crap that's sitting empty I'm not rambling, but I'm saying it goes with behavior, and the effects of technology on us. mRNA, the vaccines we've been duped into, digital living versus authentic meditation is where Mark Zuckerberg has his crosshairs on you. All this. Hey, I need to be artificial on Facebook. Let's artificial my thing, my meme, the emoticon of the person. Hi. Okay, fine. We get it. Women like Disney. Hi. The next thing you know, whoop, they're on the train. They're on the subscription. They're on the Zuck Express to three-dimensional, artificial. Looks exactly like the real thing. Who the hell needs the real thing? Elon Musk will say, look, put it in your brain, and we can help you play ping pong with it. That'll help you meditation. And there are people who have things in their body right now that are metallic and artificial. So you got the little Metallica going on, floating around in there. You got DNA to fight it. The surface level warfare going around on the cells, bacteria and viruses, and you control how you feel. There's a lot of sick people running around right now. So you got to demand to be above it. But we subject ourselves to it because we stand in line and we are governed. It's not all our fault because we're born into it, but we're rising up now. And all these behavioral malfactors, you personally, you start thinking about everybody else out there, you better turn right around and look at that plank that's in your eye just from hey, boy, I got to brush my diamond. I need to meditate. I need to increase my love and get up here. Fourth density is chakra that I'm not going to discuss in this. I'm trying to help clarify both sides of the human collective. There's a social memory collective that understands this and is going to rise above it, because these frequencies are going to be balanced in the proper disposition of the red ray. You don't need it unless you're going to have children every 400 years. And look, I'm a first wave person, so if you don't like that, it's okay. But I mean, if you want to be more normal about it and lifespan about it, only if you're married and when the husband and the wife, special occasion, manage to a point where it's off the radar because you're focused on other things. So many people, it's off the radar because of their stress and their desperation. And so I guess that's a blessing because they're good people, and you got to go run and work 18 hours a day and you don't have time for any of that. But so as we rise up and there is time made available, this needs to be kept in place and, actually sort of put to bed, although it's got its purpose and intention. I'm talking about the sexual organs that we live with. I mean, we're going to prana, water-based breathing, way down the road. Back to this. And everything I discussed here. The multidimensional nature of artificial, you have to go from the needle all the way to the computer game that you're addicted to. Because you've psychologically, on your waking day, if you can't wait to log in and wander down the road of, hey, I figured it out, you are hijacked and you don't know it. Because you could have been out on the beach swimming. So, and as long as people wake up to this, drop the games, put them away, that's Zuckerberg. He's got the next version of the Xbox with Gates. It'll keep they're going with their fidelity of the game. So beware and be authentic. That's key. Authenticity is so key to us in meditation. We're instantaneous, universal. The universe is inside you. You have a solar plexus. These are energy centers. So, because your solar plexus is your breathing, it's your life force. If you have issues down here, as I discussed, you've got negative energy that you wake up to and you express during your day, voting and participating on the side of the fence that you roll on, either consciously or unconsciously. So this is an awareness presentation, so you could do a self-examination and transmute yourself by confessing to yourself. You don't need a priest, but analyze yourself. Forget the 10 Commandments. That's a jealous God, and half the stuff is intended to bamboozle you. I'm telling you the truth here about you, what you need to use. You know, the commandments are a bunch of thou shalt nots. And yeah, they can be sure, you shouldn't kill, but you shouldn't kill anything. We're back to first and second density and the guidance we're getting now to go vegan, and it'll tie in very nicely to this top portion. But just an executive summary, you know, a person's destiny is tied to how they feel about others. 51% mind, body, spirit. If I think a good thing about somebody, I get credit in the right column. This behavior encapsulates to a less than 51% feeling about others. From I could care less, we hunt children in West Texas, to, you know, I could care less about anybody. I took the vaccine, and, you know, I could care less. I just could care less. Really, everything's could care less. So, to stay, it's negative energy. That's comes, you can see it on their faces, and they're trying, and they're losing because they don't know what they're doing. So this is surface manifestation on our planet. This is where we're at. When you're dealing with Gaia, if you want to do the analogy of our mother, who we sit on, not our one true creator. I mean, predecessorally speaking, human ascended knowledge, which we are returning to, gave Gaia life. And so that's awareness. So she's a living vibration of energy, and she's going to fourth density, and we're going with her as God chips, going to crystalline grid, and we have adamantine particles that are going to take us to true, authentic, fifth dimension awareness and living. And just keep loving your heart, and you'll do that. So back over here, you know, we're at the surface level of Gaia. You have to think about the surface of our planet and the wars that have occurred, and the fact that we eat meat and we die. So dissolution occurs because we're consumed by consumption. The satanic vibration on the planet is such that all the animals kill each other to survive. And it's a downward spiraled, like, we ultimately take responsibility and add to that. We hunt, we kill, we don't know how to deal with animals, and the animals need to be repaired just like we do. That's what the truth is. So, because we eat moving consciousness, we're eaten by it to the point where you can go shipping containers with, hey, you get on the big energy level of soul management, they eat people at the McRib level of dastardly behavior that's kind of humorous. But I'm talking about a fairly serious situation here, because we keep dying. You know, the lifespan went all the way up to, we're making it 90 years. Oh, gee. That's a bronze medal. When you read that the men of lore ran around here for hundreds of years, and you look at the other constellations in the being lifespans that are spoken of, and there's knowledge of, they're in like the thousands of years to live a life. We, if we pull this off as a positive social memory collective who come from a universal point of origin that had a catalyst, and now we're here, it's like a secondary catalyst. So the angels and our Creator get double credit for us because we're the center of everything here on Gaia, the center of everything. Council of Planets said this is where it's going to happen. So everybody sent their representatives, and you're one because you come from a universal point of origin, and it's quantum. So you've been to a lot of planets. So lose that element, but understand that you're an identity. And when you discover the truth within, you got what you need to come have the awareness that we're all going to have. But to date, what you've got going is dissolution on the surface of the planet. That's why we have cemeteries and urns and forest fires, and we're consumed by consumption. And when these things are put together, we have peace officers that are being trained up as robocops to make sure you get in line, and the crowd is controlled to move the cattle into the FEMA center, kind of a thing. And there's no fear that's involved, but from an awareness standpoint, if you're up on the angels standing above all this with awareness, and something occurs that you see as an indicator, the emergency broadcast system goes off to bring this to a close. It's now an emergency, and it's gone from the Ukraine and Russia to a global excuse for, hey, it's happening.